The MindBuzz, now partnered with My Grito Industries.
This podcast episode of the MindBuzz is brought to you by House of Chingazos. House of Chingazos is a Latino-owned online store that speaks to Latino culture and Latino experience. I love House of Chingazos because I like t-shirts that fit great and are comfortable to wear. I wear them on the podcast and to the carne asadas. Click the affiliate link in the show description and use promo code TheMindBuzz. That's TheMindBuzz to receive 10% off your entire purchase. The cash saved will go directly to the MindBuzz podcast to help us do what we do best, and that's bringing you more MindBuzz content. Click the link in the show description for more. The MindBuzz is powered by MindBuzz Media. MindBuzz Media is an on-site video and audio podcast production company. Have you ever thought about starting your own video and audio podcast? Or do you have an existing podcast that you want to take to the next level? MindBuzz Media brings a professional podcast studio to you. Visit mindbuzz.org for more.
The MindBuzz Podcast.
And away we go. Boom! What is up, MindBuzz Universe? And we're back again for another podcast episode of the MindBuzz. My name is Gil, your host, and working the 2s and 3s behind the boards is the fantastic, all the way from Paramount, California, the Scorpio, the legend, the one and only Amber B. What is up? Thanks for being here.
Wow, that was quite an introduction.
I know. I thought I had to spice it up a little bit.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
What's going on? How are you?
Good.
Thanks for being here.
I feel 100% now. Not like last time. I felt like dog shit.
We were both, you were dog shit. I was the dried up piece of cat poo on the playground.
Yeah, it was bad. We couldn't catch a break, but I felt great. I felt good.
Yeah. I'm good. You're good. We're all feeling good here. We're back for another episode of the MindBuzz podcast. We just got done with a stacked weekend, both you and I. Friday night was the pilot episode of Delic Comedy, which is the open mic, showcase, and live podcast in the city of Paramount. It was amazing. It was awesome. All the comics were amazing. The two guest hosts, shout out to Johnny C from the West Coast PopLock podcast. Thank you, buddy, for coming out and doing the podcast with me. And then also the IE legend, the Inland Empire legend, Johnny Gold, was on fire that night, and it was great. And I just want to thank everybody that came together to do this podcast live in front of a studio audience. It was great. It was awesome. And Ricky, thank you for helping me out and being part of it. And then of course Jay, he's gonna smack me around if I don't thank him. So thank you, Jay, for your help too on the Thursday night before.
It was such a great event. I'm really, really proud of you. I know how much effort and work and sweat and tears it took to do that. And I know people see it and they probably think like, oh, that's cool. But,
that's it. Hey, really, if I get a 1, hey, that's cool. It's cool with me. I like that.
No, but people don't see the amount of time and effort that it takes to put any production together. Nonetheless, something that's live, something that's recorded, both audio and visually, and you did it all. I can't take any credit this time because I
thank you.
Anything. So
I know.
Congratulations.
I wanted you behind the board at some point, but
I know, but we both couldn't be.
Yeah, we couldn't. We both couldn't be behind the camera because it was a lot. to do a live podcast in front of an audience is awesome. Like it's a whole new different type of stress level, and you have to perform, be able to perform and entertain for the most part, right? So it was cool. And then also shout out to Héroes del Sol for being the house band. You guys did an awesome job. We had about a 20-minute rehearsal for a 2-hour show. And you guys nailed it. It was awesome. Everybody did their part, and it wasn't just me. It took a group of us to produce something.
And my dad, if my dad's listening,
yes,
the stage.
Umberto, you and your construction company coming out on that day to the day before, and then weeks. I think just weeks in planning. This thing took weeks of planning, of getting the people together, of ticketing, of promotion and stage construction. Your mom helping out with the cortinas. It was a huge effort from everybody. And
that's all you need.
I appreciate it.
You just need a Mexican family.
You need a Mexican family. That's all you need.
We know how to do everything.
To conquer the world. You got somebody in your family that knows how to do something.
We sure do.
Right?
We sure do.
Yeah, it was. And shout out to Horchateria for hosting the location, the gallery. I just really appreciate it. I'm excited for the next one.
Woo.
Yes. So clips will be going out for the next couple of weeks. I have it scheduled to premiere on YouTube. So go to it's going to be hosted on the MindBuzz Media channel. So go to MindBuzz Media on YouTube and click the reminder button for March 12th. So that's Tuesday, March 12th at 6 p.m. We are going to premiere Delic Comedy. Ooh. There you go. That's it.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No. Oh, we got to see and play with dogs on Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
That was a serotonin boost.
Yeah. It was a serotonin boost we needed for the crazy Friday and Saturday that we had.
Yeah.
But much needed serotonin boost. We got to have animals running around in the gallery. It was awesome.
It was great.
It was a good time. Yeah, overall it was.
And I learned that I needed to lose like 20 pounds to keep up. So.
Right. Exactly.
So it was a great revelation.
I was hurting on Saturday.
I was hurting every day.
Yeah, I'm still hurting. My shoulder was just terrible. Like my shoulder's not the same.
It's like when you drink and you get hangovers, but it was like you work and you just like can't recuperate. It was not fun.
Yeah. But anything else before we get into today's guest?
I'm good. I'm ready. I'm ready for today's guest. We're excited.
You ready? I'm so excited too because he's a film director. He's a musician. He goes by Noble Savage, but his name is Hari. And thanks for being here.
I'm so excited to be here. Really, it's a privilege for me to be here with you guys.
No, the privilege and pleasure is all ours. We're just going through your page earlier today, and if Amber, you can bring that up, because the aesthetic and just the art that you have on your page is phenomenal.
Oh, well, it's a big part of what this project is about. We try to bring a little concept behind everything we do, and we kind of take pleasure in that. So we're having fun with the whole concept, and we're very happy with the last video for sure. That's something that really blew our minds. I did not direct that one. That was directed by a Mexican couple that are directors, Film Surduo. That's Mariana right there. And so, yeah, I think they made a fantastic job. I kind of produced for them, but yeah, that's part of our world, kind of.
That's so cool.
Yeah, everything looks amazing.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, look at that. Just the aesthetic, and then your music is very awesome too. I love it.
I was
Oh,
hoping you were
thanks.
gonna
Yeah.
come in looking like this.
I should have.
Typically,
that's the real Noble Savage right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
That's the shadow. Yeah.
gotcha.
It like scares me, but in a good way. So I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna be scared of him when he gets here. But then you got here, and I was like, oh, okay.
Just a normal man. That's
Yeah.
it. Usually when we find musicians and they want to come on and do the podcast, or we reach out to them, we are in hopes that they show up like they do in their music video.
That's a very yeah.
Or we ask each other, I wonder how they're gonna show up. You
And
know?
then of course you have the Kiss poster.
Oh,
over
yeah.
there, who are the kings of this?
I'm a
kind of.
huge Kiss fan. I love Kiss.
understand.
Hopefully, I'm able to see them before they stop touring. But I think they're gonna be one of those bands that are like the Rolling Stones that
Oh,
will
their
probably
history, yeah,
never,
for sure.
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, who are some of your inspirations when it comes to music and writing music and producing it?
Well, I was a teenager in the 80s, and I had a band in Mexico City in the 80s in Spanish, kind of a more of a goth, darker sort of, rock band. And I made a film called This Is Not Berlin that has to do with the whole like artist post-punk scene in Mexico City during the 80s. And I was very fortunate with that film. The world premiere was at Sundance in 2019.
Wow.
And I toured the world pretty much with that film. And I realized that there was a lot of there was a really big younger crowd that were listening to dark wave and cold wave. And that's my thing, the whole darker dance 80s vibe. That's what I love the most. And so I realized that I had to start making music again, and that was my thing, and that I went back to the studio. The Polycom brothers, who usually play with me, are the producers of this project, and we started playing around with sounds. I wanted kind of like a weird mixture of a very sort of dark wave, as I said, dance 80s music with kind of a disco thing, more of a, Bronski beat kind of vibe. So we started playing with things that had to do with those two worlds, and this is what we found, kind of.
So is this the film?
That's the
here?
film. Yeah. Wow. This Is Not Berlin.
This is not Berlin.
And This Is Not Berlin because it was Mexico City. That's like the joke behind it, because there was a very small underground scene. Not a lot of people know that Mexico City, Mexico as a country was going through a dictatorship in a very Mexican way, because to the outside world, it was like, oh, we're this democracy, and we welcome the left-wing people that are coming from Argentina and Chile and other countries. But the truth is that it was a dictatorship, and they were killing their own sort of communists and in their own way. And we didn't have rock. It was forbidden.
Really?
Yeah, younger crowds could not gather, only for soccer games. So there was a small community doing art and doing music, and in a very underground world, and that's what the film's about. That community, the LGBTQ community, doing art in the 80s in a very small venue that was completely out of the radar for most people.
So this came out in 2019.
Yeah.
Was it set in 2019, or was
It's
it
set in the 80s in
Oh, it's
Mexico
set in
City.
the 80s.
Yeah.
So this is not Berlin, meaning it's
It's all
tying
happening
to
in Mexico City, but
right.
we were kind of emulating what was going on in Berlin and New York City, and
Gotcha.
we were like, but we're in Mexico, we have to. Now, of course, Mexico City it's Berlin, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't in those times we really couldn't do anything.
What was it like as an artist?
It was funny because
Yeah.
I was very cool because it was a super small community, if you will. So you knew a lot of people. We sort of all appeared in the. I don't even know how we made it through. Like, oh, there's gonna be a exhibit with a band playing in downtown in an abandoned building. So I guess we called each other by phone because there was no social media or cell phones. So it just happened, and we were there, and most of the same people were in the same parties and the same exhibits, and really the younger crowd didn't have a place to do music or exhibit their work as an artist. So this was all happening in parties and, underground exhibits. And it was, I guess, very cool. It was like a very tiny New York City, if you will.
A tiny New York City.
Yeah. Or as the Spanish said, because I released the film in Spain, and then we had a theatrical release in the U.S. as well. And in Spain, they had a big thing in the 80s called La Movida, which was this huge underground artistic thing going on, but much larger than ours. But when they watched This Is Not Berlin, were like, oh, this is like La Movida. Nobody's done a film about that. I'll do it.
You know what? Like you're talking about kind of like a small scene and things like that. Like for me, what I keep like I guess finding out, because my father's from Sinaloa, so Sinaloa, in that region, it's mostly banda norteño. There's not really any bands that come out like like rock or 80s punk or anything like that. And then in Ensenada, it's even a smaller subculture. And to me, to hear like you or even the band we had before that came from Mexico, and these scenes are in Mexico, like these music and these different subcultures and these things, like to me it's like I'm discovering it for the first time, because it's not something that like you have like music in Spanish that like románticas or your baladas or your pop or things like that, but that's what I hear mainstream, or I heard mainstream in the radio. So to see like yourself, like your music, or even you talk about like Mexico in the 80s, like to me it's like wow, like I forget that Mexico has so much more to give, and there was still all these types of music coming out, not just norteño, banda, and
absolutely
Vicente Fernandez. Like there's just way more to it as far as like music.
And something that marvels me really is that this genre, which is really a very big genre that houses a lot of different things, from more 80s gothy texture music and a lot of new dark wave bands like, I don't know, Drum Majesty or Boy Harsher or even Soft Moon, who died recently. And a lot of them are Latinx people from LA. There's a very big community here that is, playing around this sounds, electronic sounds with a darker edge, with a dance purpose. And that marvels me. I always go to this festival in Pasadena, Cruel World. I'm a regular. It's coming in May. I'm very excited. And it marvels me to see that half the people there are people from our community here in Los Angeles. Most of them are Latinx. It's I don't know why we've embraced this sounds and this sort of underground vibe and this painting our nails black and this whole thing. It's, I don't know, Germans and Mexicans.
Yeah.
It's funny.
It's really cool though.
It's very cool.
Two of the greatest drinkers in the world come
Exactly.
together for
that's a good
music.
point. Yeah.
So
that's a very good point.
what's the German background to it? Is that where the music derived from?
I think there was a lot of stuff going on both in U.S., Britain, obviously, and then there was Berlin, like an island, like a creative island in the 80s where David Bowie went and lived and Nick Cave went, and they were producing all sorts of music. And there was this incredible people like Blixa Bargeld from Einstürzen and Neubauten starting the whole industrial movement, and they were their own island over there. And I think pretty much Germans love this electronic, very, robot-like futuristic sort of vibe, which is also kind of military in a way. And I think that permeated into everything that was going on in the 80s and influenced it. And then they were as well influenced by what was going on in New York City and London and everywhere else, and became a big thing. I'm just kind of guessing, but that's how it feels. And then there was big synthwave bands like Wolfsheim and One, and a lot of music that was being heard in the venues in those years, and still now in the underground venues that have to do with this genre are German or Dutch or whatever, or Belgian.
It's so cool how music and art and culture is a product of the environment, right? Or product of the time, or product of what is going on in that specific region in a country. It's pretty cool how art comes from whatever is happening during that time.
Yeah, that is true. And I think there's I feel we're kind of like the outsiders of the world, people that really are into these genres, and we kind of find ourselves now in the through the internet and in these festivals, and for some reason I think there is a very big need of, because I think part of the deal, and that going back to Noble Savage, which is my project in music, it was born with the idea of using the shadow as a power force to create music and lyrics and transforming like the darker aspects of Hari into a creative force that could be danced to. So the lyrics are not, we try to connect with whatever is out there, and sort of try to bring those words that are there for us to gather. And normally those words have to do with how painful sometimes the world is or life is, but at the same time that it's so worth living it, And so we really wanted to write lyrics about things that are painful or dark, or, how rejected we felt in high school, for instance, or, how terrible war is or whatever, but use it again as a tool to transfigurate and transform it and just dance to it. And I think a lot of people from the Latin communities here in California, for instance, have that same need for some reason. They need to talk about where they're from and what they've been through, and at the same time dance to it and make electronic music with it, which is that is the bottom line of Noble Savage, is that the shadow is the one that that goes in the stage, and he's the one that makes the lyrics, and I'm kind of like I'm the body to sort of channel him.
I like that.
That's awesome. It's like a whole, I don't even want to say story, because it's not a story. It's like you're actually living it, right? It's reality. Like you're saying, like we have this need to talk about our pain and everything, but at the end of the day to dance to it. And I think that really personifies, or at least like for myself, being Latina, first generation, like I'm learning to adapt, right? To kind of, I'm not too Mexican, but I'm not too American either. So there's this like middle ground, and I'm learning how to channel my emotions and how to use them, because I come from a long line of suppressing talking and emotions and things. So what you just said, like that's who I am. I want to talk about my emotions. I want to talk about my things, but I also want to celebrate them and dance later and not be like completely
Right.
engulfed in the sadness. And I don't know. That's really cool.
Yeah,
That's wonderful.
there's two things happening, right? You're expressing the way you feel, but then also you're turning that, I don't want to say negative space or negative emotion. Let's just call it just an emotion, and you're making a positive out of it, or you're celebrating it, I guess, in a way, right?
Exactly.
Or you're celebrating you're celebrating your emotions.
Exactly. We kind of are trying to invent a verb that's Junging because of Jung, the psychoanalyst that talks about the shadow in terms of you using the darker aspects that we all have them. Like, where is this jealousy coming from? Where is this rage coming from? You know, and that's my how do you say materia prima? My
Like your first.
yeah, that's where everything's coming from for me, like creatively, like for not only for music but also for film. And music is so direct, really. Like the shadow needs to express this, and then
like the
as you
origin.
were saying, yeah, exactly. And then you just transform it into a power, into something creative, and you end up dancing away your fear or your envy or your rage. And I think a lot of us have reasons to be angry, and we have to do something with that energy. It's a strong energy. It's so powerful, and in a way I feel that we kind of need to embrace that, because that's what makes us who we are. That pain, that trauma, the most of those traumas were inflicted when we were very young, and kind of embracing that, and not only that, but using it creatively. I think it's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah.
It really is.
Like, how did you find out that? Like, when did you realize that having an emotion and turning it into something like art? Do you remember the first time where you're like, oh, I'm feeling this, and maybe if I do this, it helps me express the way I feel? Do you remember that?
I don't remember the exact moment, but I know I've done it since I was really young. I wasn't very good at the beginning. These words came out and whatever, and then films came, and most of my films. Now I've done some TV as well and series and that kind of stuff, which is new for me. This is what I've been doing here. But most of my films are as they say in Spanish, self-referential, or kind of autobiographical in terms of investigating. I don't know, like what happened during those years. But also, This Is Not Berlin, for instance, has to do with the toxic masculinity I had around me, and having to find a different sort of path, and what happened because I was really young when I met this community of artists, and that really transformed my life, kind of. And I also made a film about the loss of a child, which is something that I went through as well. So it's kind of there. So it was just very logical to move in this direction with and I feel that the music we're making, and what happens on stage allows us to be a little bit more theatrical. I remember that story. Like, there's a very good documentary about Bob Dylan. I don't know where, probably everywhere in the streaming, and I just found that it's so. I mean, he was saying that, and this is a tour he made, painting his face white, and so. Some people were talking about buto and this Japanese traditional dance in which the artists paint themselves, and then that's part of the ritual into becoming a different persona. But someone confessed, it was really Kiss. He went to a Kiss show, and he loved the what they did with the makeup.
Bob Dylan?
Yeah. And he started painting his face white.
That is awesome.
That was so cool to watch, So I think this music we do is kind of theatrical in a way, and we enjoy that very, very much. And that's part of what you were seeing and in the pictures and so forth is that we need to use some persona to be able to project the shadow on stage.
I love
very
that.
festive. And
Yeah, of course.
It's very, very festive. In fact, we really appreciate when people dance with us. That's our whole purpose. To make people dance and to dance ourselves. I love to dance on stage. It's my favorite thing ever.
There's nothing like being on stage, especially surrounded by other musicians or other artists.
It's magical.
Right?
It's a conversation, and when things really flow, we had a very good show in Mexico City not too long ago, and in Monterrey in the north. And when things are flowing and you get the energy back from the audience, and then you throw more energy and you get it becomes a alchemical conversation that is really transforming, I think, for both parts.
It's
really.
chemicals, it's vibrations, it's this energy that is just people on the stage with their energy, and then the audience reciprocating that same thing. It's beautiful. There's nothing like getting off the stage and feeling that. There's nothing ever, I'm sorry, Amber, but there's nothing ever that's going to be able to replace that.
I agree. I think that's why I'm so stubborn with music, because I just want to be on the stage. Now I want to play in the US. I really want to start touring here because it's so. It is. There's something magical.
Yeah.
To it.
All the hard work and all the practicing and the writing, and it makes everything just so
worthwhile.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That
That
instant.
sounds like anxiety to me.
It's good anxiety, actually.
There is.
I know.
There is anxiety.
And I get it. I get that both of your serotonin boosts come from that,
Yeah.
And I always think like I am in awe every time that I see someone perform or, someone do their thing on stage. To me, it's like you said, it's magical, but it's not something that I can do, For me, my serotonin, my magic is, I don't know, one of my recipes coming out amazing and seeing people taste my food and eating and that smile and that, and that's my serotonin. But I think what you do is amazing and beyond me. And
we need to taste your food.
Oh yeah. I think we should.
We will. I made bagels this morning.
I think we need to have a segment on the podcast where whatever you have to make like something, and then we feed it to the guests.
That would be awesome.
Oh yeah.
And it sounded like alchemical as well.
It is. Yeah, it is. I enjoy it. Definitely. But I mean, back to you. Did you come from a family of artists, or are you the first in your family?
No, we're not. I mean, my grandmother's mom was a pianist during the revolution in Mexico, and there was this legends of that she was kind of traveling with her piano in the midst of all these battles, and so my grandma really loved classical music, and she kind of taught me that. But no, I think most of what happened to me was that original trauma and the need to communicate and do something with it and do something with the social anxiety that I had. I needed to communicate some other way because I couldn't communicate in the natural, having a lot of friends, high school, that kind of thing was not something that I had, So I think I needed to find different paths for that on one side. And then I met this community very young, and this community was all about, something that was, I find very cool in the 80s, and maybe some people listening, maybe the younger audience listening to the podcast will feel that is something that goes on still. I don't know. But that like partying was kind of like a very creative thing. It was regarded as part of who you were as an artist. Like, what are you going to wear tonight for this, whatever show you're going to, this or even for just going to the venue tonight or to this, there was this little gay bar in Mexico City that was, a lot of this was happening there. It was very small, but we dressed to kill, we stole clothes from a church, and then we would wear the clothes and cut them and wear a cross in there. So all that thing became a big thing, or military stuff, or that, and the music. So it was a whole sort of creative act of performance art. I was profoundly exposed to performance art during those years, which I had never thought of, like the mix of acting with sound and just throwing your rage out and all that improvisation, but it's also kind of art with painting, and I don't know, it was just really, really, really I learned a lot from those years, and I think most of what I do ended up coming from understanding what you can do with your pain. Yeah.
I mean, if somebody wasn't expressing their pain, whether in music or painting, or like, there's no other. How do you do that? Like, there's no other way. I mean, there are some other ways, but I mean, what would you think? How would you, if you didn't find music or your certain community, how do you think that you were able to do that?
I don't know. Maybe you either die or kill people, or you go to war, or you become a soldier. I don't really know, but I feel there's certain types, like Freud, that wrote he wrote like an incredible amount of books, and I remember one time feeling that if he had not written all of that, he would probably be a serial killer. that type of mind, such a complex, almost genius mind, with nothing to do. What do you do with that? So it's a very interesting question, I find. But I think we, in this world, we see a lot of violence, and we see a lot of not transfiguration of pain, but just taking your pain directly and inflicting it on other people directly without any sort of bridge.
Right.
And I think that's what happens when you don't embrace a shadow, and when you don't use that energy to create something hopeful or something.
Do you think that the arts, I mean, obviously I don't know, so that's why I'm asking, but the arts in Mexico as a whole country, do you think it's where it should be right now? Or do you think that it could be better? Do you think there's more? Do you think it's not where it's at because culturally or anything like that, or no?
Oh my God!
I know it's a loaded question.
It's a big one. Yeah, I think in film there's been a rebirth of Mexican film. It's very powerful. I think there is at least 3 or 4 Mexican films in every main AA festival in the world, say Berlin or Cannes or Venice, or there's so many films that come from Mexico. Not necessarily films that a lot of people will watch, though, because the industry is not. It's not an easy thing to do to show your independent sort of art house films to people, because they're used to watching Hollywood and that. So so that's one example. I think art in Mexico is a big thing, and there's a lot of artists that are really interesting, and possibly every manifestation from literature to the arts, to the plastic arts, to film, to music. We probably don't have an industry that distributing that art, so that's why a lot of us, I guess, end up coming here to try to do our thing. to try to show our work to more people. And that's part of what we're trying to do with Noble Savage, is to engage with a community that is interested in this kind of music in California, because it is huge here.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
How did Noble Savage come to be? Because I know you said you did film first and then you went into the music, right?
It's funny because I started doing music before, then I went to film and stopped music. I had a band in the 80s, 90s, but we never recorded anything. So that was a big frustration in my life. So I went back to music a little bit more than 10 years ago and I've had different projects and bands. I think Noble Savage in a way came from This Is Not Berlin, because it kind of recovered the aesthetic from those bands in the 80s. I don't know, Joy Division or New Order, or a lot of those electronic dance, I don't know, Devo and all that kind of world. And realizing that there is a very large community of younger people doing that music now, and that they're doing brilliantly, and they have incredible, projects. And once I realized that, it was like, it's impossible for me not to try to participate of that cake. That buffet is just too amazing for not to be there. That's what I like the most, dark electronic, danceable, music. So that's where it came from. And then it was like just coming up with the concept, I want the shadow to take over, right? And then the pandemic came, and it was a perfect time to start exploring music, because that's when this project was born.
I like how a lot of projects came out from the pandemic. Yes, of course. Yes, yeah. I understand during the pandemic there was a lot going on in the world, a lot, right? But that allowed some time for people to actually tap in to what they are passionate about, or it gave them the time to tap into do something that they have always wanted to do, but just never had the capability or ability or the time to do it.
Absolutely. And I think we could go back to your question as of what would you do if you didn't do this?
Right.
And I think there was a lot of divorces.
There was.
People drinking alcohol like crazy. Or, some people started doing music just because they needed to do something with that energy, or perhaps the dragon would eat them alive.
Yeah. If it's not music, if it's not art, if it's not comedy, if it's not painting or sports, honestly, I don't know what I would have done if I didn't find podcasting or my newfound love right now, comedy. I don't know what I would be doing. Honestly, I
feel the same way. As you. Yeah.
I mean, before podcasting, I love beer. I love drinking. I liked partying, but that was it. Like, there was no. I was in a band and then partying after. No, it was just going to the bar and hanging out, and that's it. It's terrible.
I went through rehab twice, so I totally know.
Yeah.
What you do when you're not being
exactly.
creative.
I think there's something I think it's just something with the human brain. If we're not being creative, there's just something that happens with that energy.
Yeah.
Like, where does it go?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What happens?
Yeah.
But I think when you're not trying to be the best version of yourself creatively, it's a waste. And I feel that it there's a drag, I guess, on your I don't know, on yourself as a person.
Yeah. I agree. And it could be art, it could be, creating
it could be anything.
Television, or, technology, or
making pizza bagels.
Making pizza bagels.
It could be something.
But I think it's a two-way thing in which you kind of recognize that you do have like a shadow in you, and that it's something that we share. All of us share that as humans, and that on the other hand, you can do this with it, right? Mm-hmm. So it's both, I think, and I think that allows us to be in this world walking in a better way, I think.
I agree.
Hadi, do you think that everybody has a shadow? That
I think most people do. I think most people have some sort of trauma from this or other lives. That might be too esoteric, but let's stick to this life. Most of us have had some sort of trauma process in our childhoods, from family or school, and those scars provoke a certain inner reaction, and that inner reaction provokes a personality, and that personal traits kind of become, in a way, your map, because those pains and those darker spaces are really your map on what you came to this life to do, I think.
Right.
Like, and as I said, it can be, why does this type of person provoke my jealousy? Where is that coming from? Or why does this provoke my rage? Why am I such an angry fella? You know?
Yeah.
A lot of historically, there's so much people that have been so angry and so, like, with other races or with other cultures, and we're seeing a little bit of that everywhere in the world right now. There's terrible wars that are going on, and you know, do you even ask yourself, why am I feeling that towards other human beings? What is the deeper reason for that? And not everybody does. I don't know why, because, you know, that's part of the game of being here, I guess.
Yeah. Life is just, it's beautiful, but it's also very, it's hard. Like, at the same time, it's being a human being. It's not easy, especially, in certain societies, it's not easy. Yeah. And I think as humans, we're born out of trauma, because if you really think about it, being born is very traumatic.
Yes.
When you're born, what are you doing? You're screaming at the top of your lungs.
Yeah. What does it mean even to
what the heck?
Here, right?
Yeah. What am I doing? What is going on? Why is this doctor holding me by my ankles upside down, screaming, trying to wake me up? What is this?
Like a maraca.
I was sleeping, and you guys just brought me out in these bright lights. Like,
sleeping,
come on.
This watery, warm
kind
of. Yeah, for sure. So that's what Noble Savage is all about. You know, it could be just making the music and trying to dance, but it's also the other part. We are trying to make meaningful music in our own way. There might be, hopefully there's people out there who will connect with that and this weird way of doing lyrics and this, but at the same time wanting to dance and use electronic music to talk about these things in a different, you know, which the latest single now, which is the latest single we just released very recently, has to do with, how do you lose the present moment? Is the present moment is now the only real opportunity we have to sort of a joyful experience or an experience of joy? And what happens with memory, for instance, in that particular song? There's this image that the narrator, let's say, or the character in the song, has a memory of this very toxic relationship, which at the same time is a very sort of attractive thing, because that kind of dark relationships or toxic relationships sometimes are the most passionate ones. So he gets thrown into the past, into this thing he had with a different person, and then suddenly he's not in the now, or she's not in the now again. It's just collapsed by a film going on in the mind.
Wow.
So that's what that single is about. But then I find it's a very sort of pop and cool track to dance to. So that's kind of like what Noble Savage is trying to do, both things at the same time.
Right.
So there's different layers, and you can just dance to it and sing like the chorus or whatever. And then if you get a little deeper, there is also some, we're talking about some other stuff as well.
Do you think because I'm thinking like it just popped in my mind right now, like when you do an art piece, you as an artist, or I'm thinking as an artist, you know why you created that piece and you know what comes from it, right? And you, like you're saying, your song and just the theatrics of the video and everything, that you know the storyline, right? But do you think that some of your songs too are up for interpretation?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think that's what I've sort of that's what, for me, that's the sense I make of that particular song now, for instance. But the lyrics are pretty. I'm not trying to be like obnoxious or anything, but I really don't know where they came from.
Yeah.
Especially because English is not my mother language.
Yeah.
And I started writing in English for this project, and so I started doing some kind of rituals and trying to go somewhere where the words are, and it happened. It started happening. Like I would bring those images down, and I'm like, what the hell? Where did this thing come from?
Right.
And particularly these two last singles, Now and War, came from that process. And I was really surprised when I read them. Like, wow, really? This came from somewhere else. I could not have written this in my regular mind. And I'm not doing drugs. I mean, I think for me at least, sobriety is a new high. But it happened, and it was very cool. So what I'm trying to say is that there are pretty abstract, or there's some images that are there from these places, and that could be interpreted in, I think, many different ways.
You know what I think is awesome is like music videos and just the imagery that a person pulls out of their head and makes it on film or makes it on a video. That's wild, because you're sharing to the audience of the inner workings of somebody's mind or their imagination.
Yeah,
that's
a very
super
good
cool.
point.
That is
Very
super
cool.
cool to me.
Interesting,
right? Like you're with an art, you're giving the audience a piece of you, if you will. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I also feel that, for instance, this video that was made by other artists, the Film Surduo, they call themselves. They're very, very, very cool young artists, and I think in a way this is an interpretation they're making of something that already exists, and that interpretation becomes a different piece altogether, which is pretty cool, I think. Yeah, I mean, and they brought some references by other artists as well. They brought Marina Abramovic and Magritte and other like artists over there, and we took some of those references and used them in the video in a different way. And again, it's just like putting all of that into a melting pot and sort of melting all the ingredients, and enough of you come with a new different thing, which is very, very cool.
Can we see a piece of?
Of course, please. Yeah. It's all ours.
Ah, why isn't it?
You have to press the half circle thing. Yeah. So you're watching it, right?
I think it played on its own.
Oh,
while we were
okay.
talking.
back from distant lands. It had the rustic flavor of your older trades and paths. The quicksands felt like home again, and boy, was it a feast. Adrenaline flowing through your veins in haste, to say the least. Are these dead flowers? Is it their bait? Are the sad lovers left to waste? The hours shattered by your trace, extinguished by the fill you made. The hours fleeting. The hours shattered by your trace, extinguished by the fill you made. The hours fleeting.
Wow. That's amazing.
Thank you, thank you.
That is really good.
Oh, thanks a lot. Thank you.
I love the video, the music. It's really good.
Oh, thank you.
Dancing.
Yeah. The dancing, the imagery.
Dancing.
The black and white too. That's I like that part. Was there a reason why you guys went black and white?
Yeah, even since the previous single "War," I have to say these two singles are part of a record with 10 songs that is coming out in May, which is our first full-length album.
Oh, nice! Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Finally,
Yeah.
we feel like and they're so we've been releasing singles from that album, and these two, "War" and "Now," they're kind of like in a way they're like black and white twins. There's like the light and the darker side of them. So it just made total sense to start making things in black and white because of that reason, and also because it's just, I find it to be very cinematic, and I really like it. So I think we might continue to do some more videos in black and white for this album, because it's making sense, and we're finding very, very cool stuff. Like if I'm fortunate enough, then Film Tour Duo will continue to make some other videos, or maybe we'll find an artist here in LA, which would be very, very cool for the project as well. It's very funny, this project, and that's part of why English became its main language, although the album has 3 songs in Spanish. It's because we, after I released this film, This Is Not Berlin, at Sundance, and it became really obvious that I had to come to LA and experiment this and see if there was something for me here as an artist. And it's been almost 5 years now. So, but I haven't played here still. I played at, my brother lives in Oakland, so we played in Berkeley. In a punk, very historical punk venue over there. It was pretty cool, but I mean, I'm dying to play in LA. I'm dying to kind of start building a community around this music here in LA, and so we'll see how that goes. I don't know if I answered any question. I think I got lost.
And how long have you been in Los Angeles?
4 years and a half, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
How's the community? It's have you tapped into the community with this genre of music?
I mean I tend to go to the shows and enjoy the music, and there's a very big festival from
the Pasadena Festival.
Yeah,
what is it called again?
Cruel World.
Cruel World. I feel like I've heard that. I've probably seen it all over social media.
Last year, Siouxsie and the Banshees was here. Siouxsie played Iggy Pop, and a lot of the Bowie Harsher, which is a younger project that is Enrique, who's now going to be playing in Mexico, and we're trying to sort of squish into her. We'll see if it... but other than that, not really. We're trying to find now. I have a new manager. He's Mexican. We're trying to start a conversation with Mexican bands that belong to this genre and bring them to play here. So we would be playing at, Californian venues with Mexican dark wave bands.
Oh my God, that'd be so cool. I'm pretty sure there's a community for that.
For sure,
right?
Yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah, doing like a festival like that, but just for the Latino, the Latinx community of Mexican dark wave.
And as I said, there's a lot of musicians from that community that are making this type of music, and it's kind of like a big grandma genre that has all these different daughters and
like punk, like any other type of genre of music, like punk rock. There's so many different punk rock genres of punk rock.
Exactly. Like in Cruel World, you'll listen to real goth and to Devo and to like Blondie, but also like Black Marble. Oh, there's a lot of, we all belong to the same sort of box, I think.
Right, and there's just like these branches that just branch out to different types.
And this is a branch that has to do with synthwave and dark wave, post-punk music. I think what we're doing.
I love it. And you said you had 3 songs that are in Spanish?
Yes. They're not in our media, in our social media. No. They're not in Spotify because they're new.
Oh,
we just realized that we needed to make some songs in our own language, and also because Mexican post-punk is really becoming really strong. There's actually bands from California that are now trying to do some Spanish lyrics because that allows them to sort of belong in this particular community. And then we're Mexicans, so it's weird. We're just singing in English. So
I think it's exciting. It's exciting for us, like Mexicans and Latinos, to see ourselves being represented in every genre of music out there. And it's really cool that we're tapping into so many different, genres. It's cool. Like I said earlier, we're not only your typical
corridos,
banda, that there's so much more. Other genres that it's cool.
And now that I've been discovering all this Latinos doing this genre, it's wow. Like all these people from California that are Mexican, or whatever you want to identify yourself, Chicano or Latino, and they're doing this. They're not doing, as you say, banda or other types of. It's kind of amazing, or punk. It's really amazing for me. I love it.
I don't know the language, but when I hear music that is not your typical Mexican music, I just love it. I've heard some Spanish punk. I think the first time I heard Spanish punk, I think it was the Casualties, which is a New York street punk band.
They're incredible.
And I think I think it's the singer. He's from Mexico. I'm not too sure whereabouts, but he's from Mexico, and they have a full album just in Spanish, and it's freaking amazing. I don't understand it, but it's amazing. I think it's just
the power.
I think it's just the vernacular and the way that the tongue is being, I don't even know how to explain it, but it's so different, and I like it.
Yeah.
It's just the
music in Spanish is just better. I'm gonna say it.
It's different. I'm just saying. Yeah, no. Of course, I mean, I wouldn't disagree with you on that, but I like it.
I think there's certain words like me that I'm bilingual and that I try to translate like to Gil sometimes some words, they don't translate
English
the same
sucks.
from Spanish to English. There's some words that just don't translate.
English is bland.
And get lost.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah, it gets lost in translation, and I think that Spanish, everything that we say, whether
there's more meaning to it,
whether it's serious or funny or anything, like we have this like, I don't know, passion behind what we say, like the words. Even if you're like rayándole la madre a alguien or complimenting someone or anything, there's this passion behind just our language, and I think that translates into music as well. But maybe I'm just being biased.
I feel it's that every language has its own like vibe and energy and its own thing, and reflects like the history of the language and how it's moved along the world, and English is incredible as well. It's been for me a whole voyage of discovery to be writing these lyrics in English. It's been really something important and transcendental. But now it's very funny that there's a lot of Russian bands, post-punk bands in Russian. I don't understand anything.
Right.
And I feel most people that follow them don't understand, what they're saying. There's a very famous Turkish band and the Greek band. And so I think post-punk is now kind of uniting all the outsiders in the world. And a lot of them are playing in their own languages, and nobody's really giving a fuck,
right?
Just there.
I think music is the unity of
100%.
what we have, because even we went to Japan last year, and
cool.
we like psychobilly and like rockabilly music.
And
we were able to catch bands, and we didn't know what they were saying.
I didn't know,
but we didn't care. It was the music, the fashion, the everything, and it felt like if we were here at home.
And the Japanese have that thing of recovering the essence of the genres, and they impersonate them. They're incredible.
Oh yeah, the DJs that were at that show were spinning all rockabilly English vinyl. Most of it wasn't even Japanese vinyl.
Wow.
And when we went to the record store right there in what city was it? In
it was Okinawa.
Okinawa, we went, and we were looking for Japanese records to bring home. We couldn't find anything. Everything was in English.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they love English psychobilly. They love English rock and roll.
Yeah.
It was great, and just the people we met right there in Japan at that show, they're my buddies for life. I have them on Instagram, and we talk all the time.
That's so cool.
Right?
That's really cool.
They like my stuff, but it's like the night after, because there's like an 13 to 18 hour difference. But it's like, okay.
Future.
That's so cool.
He's awake now.
Cool. That's so cool. We're communicating and through music and
through music,
art,
through vibration, through the same things that you like. You can be on the other side of the world, but you can like the same thing, and that's very beautiful.
It is. I agree.
Music
totally agree.
Music brings us together, right?
Yeah.
Oh yes. Thanks for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you guys. It's really my first interview in English. For Noble Savage.
Oh my God.
Okay. Not me as an artist, but for music and for Noble Savage, it is the first time. I'm very grateful, as we say in Mexico, con esta me persino, and hopefully this will open doors for this project, and it was a pleasure talking with both of you.
Thank you.
Hari-sama.
Our pleasure.
Can you give us, where can we find you? And if you have anything coming up, please go ahead and share.
Yeah, well, you can find us as Noble Savage Band everywhere. There's our Instagram, and we're in Spotify. We have a Facebook page as well. So, and yeah, we're going to be playing in Mexico City next 2 weeks, which is maybe not, but soon we'll play here. More to come.
We're gonna make it happen. It's gonna
Yeah,
happen.
we gotta make it happen. We gotta do
Thanks.
something about it.
Thank you so much, guys.
But we've been wanting to go to Mexico City.
It
so
was
maybe we'll catch
lovely.
you in Mexico City.
Yeah. There we go. Gives us another reason
There you go.
to go to Mexico City.
Yeah, lots of very good music coming from Mexico these days as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
in every genre.
We gotta check it out, Amber.
We will. Absolutely.
And thank you so much for having me here. It was a pleasure. Really.
Appreciate it. I love talking to you.
Absolutely.
We gotta do this again.
Let's
maybe
do it again.
Maybe we can talk about some more on your film projects.
Absolutely, yeah.
You're an array of different things.
Yeah.
Patty.
It's the need.
Yeah.
It's the need.
Amber, do we have anything coming up in the next week?
We don't. We're taking a little
break, but
life break.
we're gonna be still doing podcasts. We got 2 scheduled next week.
Yep.
We got 2 scheduled next week.
And then March is there's a lot of things going on in March.
Yes.
So keep an eye out.
So stick around and we'll get you on the next one.
MindBuzz. Podcast.